Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we're going to be looking at the Season 6 League Store leaks, and these are characters that are obviously going to be in the League Store as well as the bag. And as you see on the screen, we have got the returning bag is going to be instead of the second unique ascendable. That obviously was the introduction last season where it's only one unique ascendable per season. The unique ascendable is not leaked here obviously because they are going to be delaying the release of the unique ascendable as was announced in the video that I released yesterday. Unfortunately, no idea why, but the character is actually getting delayed in themselves. We have Lacerator Shiva being the returning ascendable, which is actually pretty nice. I think Lacerator Shiva could be quite a fun character, and I did say that in terms of this character, it has to be something that we don't have within free-to-play. This is the best way to sort of partially expose free-to-play to a character, at least for a limited time. And I think White Shiva is actually a pretty nice character to put in here. If you've already got her, you know how she can be quite enjoyable to use. A second White Shiva even wouldn't be too bad. She's actually a pretty decent character, I think, and we'll go over her in a little bit. Now, the three returning 5 stars are Prisoner Negan, Fast Andrea, and Red Rick. Now, all three of these characters are collection characters, and they are actually, especially with Negan and Andrea, very hard to acquire. Negan is only available in Prestige and Training Grounds. Fast Andrea is only available in Training Grounds in Legendary Training, which is, if you've seen my videos where I do 100 pulls on Legendary Training and 99 pulls on Legendary Training, they aren't common. 5 stars are not common, and obviously there are a lot of 5 stars in there, so you could just not get them. So it's great that these characters are in here. And we have Rick. He is part of collections, but it is kind of strange that he's coming in here. Obviously, it could be more of a commemorative thing based on things that have happened in the comic in the last couple of weeks. But at the same time, we did have Jackson a couple of seasons ago where he was in the season store and then he was a future ascendable. I think out of all the characters, Red Rick is a character that I'd love to see as a future ascendable. So potentially, who knows, they could be gearing him up to be a future ascendable. But I think a lot of people will have him already just based on the fact that he is in Ascendance Tower. He was in 5-star tokens for the longest time. I believe also he was in the depot at one point, or he might even be in there right now, I'm not sure. But he's definitely still in Ascendance, and I think a lot of people have got his character already. So we'll just go through each of these characters individually, and I'll just break down what I think of the characters themselves. So we're going to go from right to left, and first up we do have Red Rick, and like I said, as a 5-star, I think he was one of the first, if not the very first 5-star to be released. It was kind of a surprise that he hasn't become a 6-star yet. When it comes to the 6-star world, one thing that is missing is a crit leader for just alerts that gives attack and crit. We've got characters like Connor for fast characters. We've got Abraham who does it for strong characters but also does it for fast because it's all melees. We've got characters like Tough Dwight who also do tough characters, and who else have we got for strong? We have got, I think it is Aaron who does it for strong. There are a couple of characters that do it for each trait. Now the one trait we're missing is obviously alert, and the big bonus it gives is in Survival Road. It's not going to give that massive raid bonus, but Survival Road, when you come up against those stages where it's only being able to take alert, you can take the leader in with the 40% attack and 36 crit. Maybe Rick will be that guy. Who knows? Who knows? But like I said before, I think a lot of people have got his character already. In terms of his rush, it was pretty nice. All teammates get 50% of their max HP, recover from attack penalties, and get 15% attack and 30 crit for 3 turns. Really good for a farm leader. I mean, he could turn into a farm leader instead where he loses that attack and he becomes a drop lead, kind of like Kenny, and that would be perfectly fine as well if it went to all ranged. I'd love to have this guy as a farming leader. It would be great. Next up we have Andrea, and you might not have seen this character too often because she just hasn't been around in any will. She is part of a collection, and we'll go through her rush. Deal 250% damage and minus 55% attack for 3 turns to one enemy and all adjacent enemies. So a really good debuff, but not much damage. But she's actually pretty decent. She was very slow, as you can see, 106. So not a character you really wanted. But these days, you kind of just want to complete those collections, and that's what this character is going to do. Now, she was a semi-rainbow leader, where she gave all fast characters 30% attack, but all teammates got a medium bonus to AP when attacking. Obviously, one of the main reasons you would pick this character up is to complete that collection. And I think a lot of OGs, especially just sitting there with maybe even just this collection being the last one would probably pick her up. Very strange character to just hold back on the community for so long, but being in the League Store is probably a good minimum as a reintroduction. Maybe she'll be in 5-star tokens in the future, who knows. And lastly, we have Prisoner Negan, who again is part of collections in the museum. He, as a 5-star, had 58 AP rush called Triple Strike, deal 400% damage and minus 55% defense for 1 turn to up to 3 enemies. So actually a pretty decent debuff back in the day, reasonably decent damage as well. So wasn't that bad a character, but for the 5-star world, maybe a little bit slower unless you're going to use him on attack teams. Now when it came to his leader skill, all range teammates get 30% defense and a very large bonus to AP when taking damage. Not really what you were going to be going after. He did get introduced fairly late in the 5-star world, not super late, but it was late enough that that leader skill was completely obsolete at that point. But again, this character is only available in training grounds and prestige, so it's great that he's been reintroduced here. But again, he could be introduced into the 5-star tokens in the future, you just never know. So if you want to hold off, that's completely up to you. So now moving on to White Shiva, obviously the main event effectively with these leaks, and it is great to see this character come into the returning ascendable slot. She is a generation 1 character, but even as generation 1 she still deals a lot of damage. She has 2000 base attack, she has pretty balanced defensive stats as well. She is classified as a damage dealer. Her adrenaline rush deals 2 separate attacks of 300% damage, so a lot of damage output. She can get stunned and stuff like that if she's attacking someone with stun on defense with this rush, so obviously always be aware of that. Now she does deal massive bleed everywhere. Weapon, adrenaline rush, special skill obviously multiplies. The second part of the rush deal 500 bleed damage for 2 turns to up to 2 enemies. Now she can proc her weapon, which is when attacking a better chance to cause 400 bleed damage for 3 turns to an enemy with the first attack on that rush, and then the second attack would make the specialist lacerator double it. And I have seen that a couple of times, which is pretty nice. It is rare to happen, but when it happens you just get an extra bit of bleed. It goes from 300 to 600, and then the 500 here is added on top, so you can have people rolling around with 1100 bleed just based off of her rush, which is really good. Now when it comes to active skill, gain 100% AP and 50% of max HP to self. I think that's actually pretty nice, but it has got a really high cooldown, so not really usable in raids. But if you were ever to get to turn 6, I guess you could just use it and give her a rush straight up. If you've got a command, you can just command her to rush instantly. Now where it comes to Lacerator, this is where it's going to be fun in a lot of different types of the game. You know, Faction Assault is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be the first sort of accessibility for a lot of people to get their hands on a Lacerator character. And I'm going to be honest, I think out of all of the Lacerator characters, Shiva's probably the best in terms of enjoyment. And in terms of just pure strength and power, she's very good. She's going to bring a lot to your attack teams. If you want to use her on an attack team, you can build a team around her based on like bleed. But also her pure damage is high enough that she could just be that viable damage dealing character. Especially if you've got Michelle from the Michelle event, she'll work great with Michelle. Obviously the downside there is she's not got the decap, she's not got anything to keep people down, but there's just a different variation of an attack team that you can build with her, which is actually fantastic. So I think this is a really good returning character. I would obviously still like to see an alert character in the future. We just lack alerts right now, so the unique ascendable could be an alert character. Generation 2 alert characters are a big issue within free-to-play, but I'll take a Lacerator. I will 100% take the specialist skill that has not been made widely available to free-to-play, so I'd say this is one of the better characters that has been in the returning ascendable slot, especially considering the last couple have been Wyatt, Garrett, these sort of characters which have not really been mega game-changing characters. Sort of desperation in terms of Garrett if you need him as a leader, but White Shiva, great pick. And lastly, it's the bag. It's the same as last season, so you're getting the Lilith and Ulysses in the first part of it, the top end 6-star gear in the second part, and loads of trainers in the third part. These cost 2k tokens each. Because we're not getting that unique ascendable too early in the League Store, I would hold off. The Season Store, you just want to make sure you've got 25,000 season tokens for that unique ascendable. They could be good, basically. They could be good, and if they're a really important character, you want to get them as soon as possible. You just don't know. And so far, I'd say this is one of the best seasons in terms of the characters that have been released just off of the returning 5-stars. They're hitting a lot of those museum collections, and obviously White Shiva is just that rare specialist skill that we just haven't had in free-to-play before. So far, so good. it all comes down to this unique 5-star ascendable. Will the exclusive character be good? Time will tell. Hopefully it's not going to be delayed for too much. Do tell me what you think of these characters that are going to be featuring in the season store for season 6. But that's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.